So this video is about the book Neurodiverse Voices. Let me explain. This book was written by myself, and it was written by other neurodivergent artists. Now this book is a product. It is a product of my social enterprise called Neuroexpression. Now you may be asking, and it would be a valid question, what is neuroexpression? Well, to put it simply, neuroexpression is a social enterprise, and the intention of neuroexpression is to empower neurodivergent people and to empower neurodivergent artists. So how do we do this? How do we empower neurodivergent people and neurodivergent artists? We do this by putting on exhibitions which exhibit neurodiverse artists. We also do facilitation on neurodivergence, and now we are releasing this book. Now, before we get into this, a social enterprise is a business that improves community, and we aim to help and support the neurodivergent community. This book is part of that journey, so I encourage you to take a walk with me. Let's begin. The preface. I wrote this book for the neurodivergent community and myself. From my perspective, this was the book I needed when I was younger. Now this book is divided into various sections, including diagnosis, education, parenting, art, and entrepreneurship. I hope these sections represent and support your journey. Now this isn't about my neurodivergent perspective, it's about neurodivergent perspectives. Simply put, no two pairs of neurodivergent shoes are the same. I say that to say this: if you are neurodivergent, this book was written for you.
Receiving a diagnosis of dyslexia, dyspraxia, and ADHD during my degree was like finally getting a manual for a device I'd been using incorrectly my whole life. I had assumed my brain worked like everyone else's, relying on optimism and common sense to make things function. With the correct description of how my brain works, the guilt of struggling to think, learn, and communicate in an acceptable way lifted. A diagnosis allows for both realism and creativity in navigating a creative career, especially in grant applications, budgeting, and project management. You start building support systems like body doubles or accountability buddies and rely on technology and productivity apps to stay on track. Dyslexia can be an unexpected obstacle, making it difficult to discuss art when names and titles are always just out of reach. ADHD floods you with brilliant ideas, but realizing them requires time, money, and executive function, things creativity alone can't solve. Dyspraxia turns simple tasks into logistical challenges, which isn't a big deal until an installation becomes a disaster zone. For people constantly living outside the box, creative thinking can feel like a curse, because the reality of running things depends on time, money, and energy.
In secondary school, a friend receiving support for dyslexia described her struggles, and I saw similarities. That morning, I had argued with my math teacher for marking me 0 on a simple equation. The correct answer was 40, but I had written only 4, assuming I had written the 0. He said he could only grade what was on paper, not what was in my head. I wanted to get tested, but couldn't afford a private assessment. My single mother worked 2 jobs, and the cost was nearly her monthly income. Years later, at university, I learned about student services offering learning disability assessments. I took one and was diagnosed with dyslexia. With a student support tutor, university life became much easier. I finally had someone to help translate and simplify my thoughts. My name is Melissa Rodriguez. I'm a visual artist.
Art and languages have always been important and soothing to me. Since childhood, I turned to learning words, drawing, or creating mini comics to calm my anxiety. As a teenager, I explored costume and prop work, photography, and developed my current style. Today, my creativity focuses on costume design and prop making, drawing inspiration from languages, cultures, history, and media like games and films. This passion has helped me develop skills in drawing, painting, 3D modeling, resin work, soldering, graphic design, photography, sewing, and pattern making. I can spend days immersed in creativity, feeling refreshed as if only hours passed. Art is my passion and safe space, and being able to work as a full-time artist is a dream come true. I noticed regular employment was difficult for me. I had planned to be an English teacher, but I struggled with the repetitive nature of work. I thought I just needed time to adjust to newer responsibilities outside of school. But after a few years of bouncing between teaching and art commissions, I decided to start my own art business. While the variety of projects kept me excited, being my own boss became overwhelming. I was used to the structure, and the freedom to work as I wanted was initially daunting, requiring mental effort to focus and make progress. Initially, I didn't know why I felt this way, but now with my diagnosis, business experience, and recently added treatment, everything falls into place much easier. I'm happy with my career and its progress working within gaming and film industries.
My diagnosis. During my media arts degree, I was formally diagnosed, but my struggle began long before. Suspicions of a learning difficulty lingered, yet without assessment, it remained a mystery. My mother's efforts with home tuition just couldn't fill the gaps, but university changed everything. A formal assessment revealed dyspraxia, unlocking support and self-understanding. An educational specialist provided structure, transforming a mere label into empowerment. With this, my journey with dyspraxia and neurodiversity truly began, shaping my path forward.
In a nutshell, ADHD is a condition that affects one's behaviour, often characterised by restlessness, inattention and impulsivity. High energy, creativity and selective hyperfocus are also just a few of the many strengths associated with the condition too. Swings and roundabouts. I would like to talk about ADHD and parenting. The raw truth is that it has added a brutal layer of challenge. The love for my children and the sense of reward is unquestionable. However, the majority of parenting young children involves practical and domestic work on repeat for years, often restricted to the home and around the clock. This is torturous to the ADHD side of me that yearns for new and interesting experiences. I desperately yearn to move about freely, not realising that years of sleeplessness would be paralysing and strip me of the energy and motivation to leave the house. It's no surprise that my mental health took a battering during the early years. Healing only came with time, sleep, therapy, help, and an acceptance of my neurodivergence, allowing for self-compassion.
Let's talk about the process and why it matters. During my master's in the moving image, we learned that process shapes meaning. Is a painting more valuable when you understand how it was made? A documentary, after all, is partly a record of process. Questions like, why do they believe what they believe? Help us understand others' perspectives and actions. For us, a key part of the process is being neurodivergent artists navigating a capitalist system, especially within a struggling British economy. it would be disingenuous not to acknowledge this political backdrop. Now, Jean-Michel Basquiat inspired me. I'd look through a book about his life and find meaning in the images. It reminded me that art has that power. Another key aspect is the stories, deeply personal, neurodivergent stories. When creating the whiteboard animation, I was moved by experiences of struggle in education, the workplace, and parenting. These stories are real, and they reflect the hardship of living in a world shaped by neurotypical norms. Initially, this book included AI images. Carolina, a contributor, challenged this. She said the images should come from us. I respected that and replaced them with personal doodles, a move toward authenticity. There were mental struggles in the process, but I was committed to making something meaningful. The lesson: feedback matters, artistic credibility matters, and above all, authenticity is key, especially when building something you believe in. This isn't just a product, it's a process, a journey.